everyone, and welcome to our workshop today. My name is Louise Chu. I'm the head of content at Octave, and I'm really excited to be presenting today's program, Reinventing Motherhood, Focusing on What Matters. Before we begin, I just wanted to put out a few reminders. Please have a pen and paper and pen handy because we'll be doing a few exercises throughout the workshop. If you haven't already, open up the workbook link that was on the Eventbrite page. I can also drop it again in the chat if you don't already have it. And we'll be doing a couple interactive polls today, and the prompts will be popping up at different points throughout the program. They're totally anonymous and just an opportunity for everyone to understand who is here with us today. At the end of the workshop, we'll have a little time for Q&A with Dr. Mani. Feel free to submit questions throughout the program in the Q&A box at the bottom of your window. And finally, you'll be receiving a quick survey after the workshop to see how it went for you. We'd love to get your feedback so we can keep improving these events. So before I turn it over to Dr. Mani, I just wanted to give you a quick introduction to Octave if you're not already familiar with us. We're a modern mental health practice in California and New York. We offer therapy and coaching services virtually and eventually in person at our 5 clinics once it's safe to do so. And most importantly, we take insurance. So please check out our website at findoctave.com if you are interested in learning more. And without further ado, I'd like to introduce Dr. Diane Mani, a psychologist and one of our Octave clinic directors in California.
Thank you so much, Louise. And I'm certainly so incredibly excited to be here with all of you mamas today. I wanted to first just express just how proud I am that all of you have decided to be here today. I think this is really taking your first step of already moving in the direction of focusing in on what matters, because you are taking this wonderful pause to turn inward and just start to become much more aware of what is it that is meaningful to you in your life. And so I know that us mamas have so many different things that we should be or we will be attending to or have to attend to. And so I don't take it for granted that you're spending your time with me today. And so for that, I am very, very grateful. So just want to let you know a little bit about myself. I am equally just the same as you, a mama of 2 boys. I am a mama, and I am a mom of 2 boys who are 5 and 8. And I am the proud mom of a NICU graduate who spent time in the NICU for 61 days. And throughout my entire motherhood journey, I have been a clinical psychologist. I was a clinical psychologist before as well. And now I am a clinical director at Octave. Obviously, you know a little bit about me now. I want to know about who is here with us today. And so here in a second, we have this poll here. We just want to get to know who's here and let us know how old your kids are. If you certainly have more than 1 kid, absolutely welcome to choose more than one answer here. And I'd like to just know your situation. Are you a stay-at-home mom, self-employed, employed part-time, or employed full-time? Okay. Okay. This is so wonderful. Okay. I'm seeing we have quite the variety of mamas, such a diverse group here today. Looks like the youngest age that we have here is within the 9 months to 2 years old. And then about half of the people attending today, 8 and up with the kids. Looks like we also have quite the variety of mamas with just different situations, stay-at-home moms, self-employed, all the variety here. So I am so glad that we have just, again, such a diverse group of mamas here that are here for the exact same purpose, and that is to really focus in on reinventing motherhood. So does this sound like you? Are you feeling exhausted before your day even begins? Do you find yourself just really attending to everybody else's needs, and it just really feels like you don't even have time for your own? Are you finding yourself trying to figure out what's right in motherhood, but honestly, it is incredibly confusing because there's just so many different variations of what we're supposed to be doing. Are you finding yourself losing control and yelling way more than you really wish you would? Are you plagued with that nasty mama guilt that we hear about so much? And as a result, we are trying harder and doing more. Are you constantly wishing for things outside of you to change? And it starts to feel like you're losing control. So if this certainly sounds like you're in the right place. This workshop is absolutely for you. We are really in a place where we're wanting to, you are wanting to move from being incredibly burnt out to at least moving towards some form of balance. You're wanting to live your life with more intention, and you're wanting to start feeling connected with yourself, with your family, and of course, your general life. You know that this is certainly possible because you see other moms doing it, and you're just needing a little bit of support to know how to do that. And so that is exactly why we're here today. So what are we going to be focusing in on today? We are going to get really clear on what your values are. We really want to know what matters to you. I'm going to be leading you through a visualization that is going to explore and get you really excited about your life. And then I'm going to have you start to create a beautiful roadmap with really concrete goals that you can leave here today, starting to live your life again in focus. So next slide. What exactly is happening? Why are we feeling this way? So without a doubt, this very first statistic here, I think, is actually probably a little bit outdated because it's from 2 years ago. And with the pandemic, average moms are working actually probably more than the 98 hours per week. Certainly that's two and a half jobs essentially. And we are working from what studies are showing from 6:30 in the morning all the way to 8:30 at night. We are exhausted doing all of the different balancing acts of life. We're honestly living with old expectations and narratives of motherhood. Generations now of motherhood have changed so much. Moms are so different. We are absolutely doing different things in our life than just staying at home. We are focusing in on our careers. We have higher educations. We certainly have more varieties of interests. And yet we're still living by those old expectations, which then, of course, goes into the tendency to operate through this interesting magical rule book that I'm not sure where this rule book is, but it's a lot of the shoulds. The should be doing this, we should be doing that, instead of really being able to look at our life and see what actually matches the reality of the life that we're living. And so as a result, we are just trying to survive life, and we are staying in autopilot. And that puts us in this fight or flight mode where everything just feels like it's flowing without us really knowing what's happening. All right, mamas. So I was just talking about how we typically run on autopilot. And so before we really jump in, I really want to take this opportunity and give you this moment to reset. So I'm inviting you in to this opportunity to breathe with us here together. So if it's available to you, whatever you're doing, I'd like you to just try to see if you can take a seat, get yourself into a position that feels nice and comfortable. I want you to find a gaze that feels right for you, whether that's turning inward and closing your eyes or concentrating yourself on one spot in front of you. As you settle in, I want you to just start to notice your breath. Just start to bring it into conscious awareness, noticing the ebb and flow of the breath, letting yourself just be pulled away from the things that you were doing prior to now. and taking a pause away from the things you'll do after this moment. See if you can observe the breath fully, accepting the nourishment with each in-breath, and letting go and softening throughout the body with every out-breath. I want you to watch as the breath begins to deepen naturally on its own, as it falls into a nice rhythmic pattern, evening out on both sides of the in-breath and the out-breath. And perhaps you start to say to yourself, I breathe in nourishment. I release tension and stress. I breathe in nourishment. I release tension and stress. Let's be more intentional about that release. And I want you to start to soften throughout the temples of the face. Begin to release the jawline. Melt away tension throughout the neck, dropping your shoulders slightly away from the ears. Invitation to move the neck and the shoulders to loosen if that feels right as well. Letting yourself sit up nice and tall to elongate the spine and release tension in the lower back. And allow for a deeper inhale through the chest all the way down into the belly, and holding for a moment there. As you release and exhale, certainly feel the whole body soften, releasing through the arms and the fingertips, releasing through the legs and feet. And then just pause. For these last cycles of breath together, return to your mantra. Breathe in nourishment. Release tension and stress. And then come right back to us when you're ready. Okay, so it is time to jump in now that our minds and our bodies are clear and relaxed. It is time for us to start to explore our values. And I just want to name this quote here. We don't have to be perfect, just engage and committed to aligning values with action. I love this quote because there is a tendency for us mamas to try to do everything so perfect. And really, it's just about moving with intention, moving with alignment in the things that matter to us. And so that's really what we're doing here today, is trying to figure all that out and start to have a plan forward. So what are our values? So our values are certainly our heart's deepest desires. They are what we want to stand for in life. They're how we want to be known to anyone we come in contact with. They are what is important to us and certainly guide all of the actions and the choices that we make in life. And they are what we believe is important. So I really want to emphasize here that values are related to how you feel and how you believe in what you believe in, not anybody else. Things to remember about our values: we don't have to justify them, because exactly what I was just naming, they're absolutely yours to own. They often do need to be prioritized. Certainly, there's so many different facets in our life that feel very important. And so we do have to work towards prioritizing them, which then, of course, leads to our values influencing our goals, having some set way of having a target that we're moving towards. Values are certainly here and now, and so they are different than goals, because goals are in the future. With values, values can lead us at any given time. They're very actionable and they're ongoing. Really like to think of them as our North Star for life. So it's something we can always turn to. Okay. So our values certainly come from so many different arenas of our life. We pick them up from our family, through our experiences growing up. We get them from, of course, society. I mean, even the influence of all the news that you read, the books that you read, social media. We get them from our experiences as well as from spirituality and religion. And so a lot of times we start accumulating these values over time. And what I see often is that we accumulate them a bit blindly. So we don't really think about, does this actually make sense for me and my life and my family? We think about them so much in the, I should be doing this. And so we just kind of take them and run with them. And so we again, we don't take that pause to really see if it really resonates with how we're wanting to live our life. So this is an opportunity right now. I want you, if you have the workbook, certainly I'd like for you to take it out right now. And I want you to turn to the first page. It's just the values. There's multiple values on this page. And without thinking too much about it, I want you to look through this values list. And I want you to just circle the ones or write down, if you don't have the workbook, values that stand out for you. If you don't have the workbook, I'll be putting up the slide with some values here. And I just want you to pay attention to what shows up for you. So we'll go on to the next slide here. And I want you to take an opportunity. I'm going to pause. I'm going to go quiet for a minute because I want you to be able to look through this list. And again, don't think too much about it. Just see what pops out for you. Circle as many as you feel are standing out. So give me 1 second here. I'll come back to you. So just so that you know, if you're like most, it is very common that you will be circling several of these values. I certainly, when I'm working with clients, at first glance, there will be almost 50% to 75% of these circled. And so don't be alarmed. Just certainly go with it with me for just a moment, and just know that it's very common to circle many of these things. As you're going through, if you are open to it, certainly happy for you to write in the Q&A. What are the values that are coming up for you? What have you learned over the course of time through your family, through your experiences, through your spirituality, society? Happy to have you share those here. Okay. So some common values that often show up. Acceptance is a really big one. Patience, especially for mamas. Growth is another really big one. Honesty, helping others, helping society. These are some of the common ones that do show up. Okay. All right. So we are going to put, all right, compassion, diversity, friendship, wisdom. Okay, great. All right. So mamas, we're certainly going to come back to this. Something I want to have you keep in your mind. But I want to invite you to put those values up on an imaginary shelf for a second, because we are going to move into a visualization. So our visualization today is going to be focusing in on what is your imagined ideal motherhood? What is your reinvented motherhood? And so that's what we're going to be focusing in on. visualization certainly just means that we are creating a mental image of our goal that you'd like to accomplish. And so that's certainly what we want to do here today. Okay, so why are we doing this? So there are so many benefits that research shows for visualization. Visualization is used in so many different areas of the world for Olympian athletes, people that are just wanting to improve their life and their health. And what we found is that visualization certainly helps you to do that. And so, to improve your life. And so one, it certainly creates a deeper empowerment within us, because what happens is as we're visualizing, we're able to see ourselves engaging in the life or the actions that we want to be doing in our life. And that certainly creates a very different dynamic in our actual brains, where it strengthens our brain to experience whatever we're doing as if we've practiced it already. And so it becomes something that feels much more automatic to us. We feel strengthened that we're able to do it with confidence. And that's what creates that willpower and motivation that we can really lean into the more that we visualize that life the way that we want it, the way that we walk to do it. So we're going to take this opportunity today to go through that. So as a mom, although we realize that life certainly changes dramatically after we have a child, a lot of times we focus in on grieving what has happened, before we had kids, who we were then, and we don't really pay attention to how much strength we've really gained in becoming a mom. And so today, I want us to be able to spend some time blending your old self and also who you are right now. And so that's what we're going to be walking through with this visualization. Okay. So similar to the way that we set ourselves up in the breathing exercise, I would like you to certainly get into, again, a position that feels comfortable for you, because I'm going to invite you to close your eyes again. Let yourself settle in again. Take a quick, nice cleansing breath in and release out. And we're going to deep dive into allowing ourselves to just dream a little bit. Again, find your gaze, whether that's closing your eyes or certainly fixating on one area of the room in front of you. Start to pull away from the many things on your mind and see if you can connect with your heart center. Notice the way the heart is beating right now. Feel your breath as you anchor into this moment. And while you're here, I want you to allow yourself to truly envision the motherhood life that is flourishing, fulfilled, and makes you feel alive. I want you to imagine waking up and you're living exactly how you want to be living. Get that image clear in your mind. What does that life look like? How do you start your day? How do you feel as you're walking through your day? Imagine exactly what you would be doing. Maybe even reflecting on what would be different from your life right now. Also, what would be the same? What are some areas of your life that you absolutely cherish, that you want to continue on in? I want you to imagine your interactions with the people in your life, including your kids, your partner. Most importantly, mamas, how are you interacting with yourself? How are you taking care of yourself and speaking to yourself? You giving yourself that compassion and love. If you work, what kind of work do you do? What is it about that work that is meaningful to you and why? Again, throughout this exercise, I want you to see if you can free yourself from judgment and what is a should, and allow yourself to just truly be honest with what life would look like for you. As you work through this vision, I want you to connect with the full essence of what it feels like to live this life, knowing your why and how it will change your life. I want to give you an opportunity to just be in this vision for just a moment on your own. And then I'll certainly call you back here in just a moment. Okay, mamas, let's let that vision start to just fade into the background. Let's bring it back. We're going to go on to a nice little exercise. Go on to this next slide. Okay. Mamas, if you have your workbook, I want you to turn to that page that says My Reinvented Life. And I want you to write out that exact vision that you spent some time in as much detail as you possibly can. I want you to write it out as if you were living that life right now. Try to recall exactly what you were doing, exactly what was part of your life, who was in it, who was involved, the feelings that you were experiencing through this vision as well. I just want you to take that opportunity to do that right now. What you're doing right now is you are creating your own personalized visualization that you can come back to. I want to invite you back into it at any moment in time, because this is your heart center, mamas. This is helping you to get clear about what is important to you in your life. And so I really want you to be able to connect back with that at any moment. Mhm. As you're writing this, I want you to, I'd love to hear from everyone. We're going to throw up a poll here and see what domains stood out as most important to you during your visualization. So again, remember the domains in your life are going to be the things such as our family, physical health, mental health, career, all of these things here. I'd love to know which domains are standing out for you. Yeah. Great. And just so everyone knows, it is very common, and I know that it's a challenge to prioritize, and I'm challenging you to do so. But this is just at least giving you an opportunity to kind of get a very broad perspective of which domains are important, and we're going to dig deeper into this as we move forward. And so I'm seeing, not surprising, family is certainly leading the way. It's why I think a lot of you are here today. Family is so important to you. I'm actually really loving it that mental health is really up on one of the top of the domains that are important as well. looks like physical health, personal growth, all really, really wonderful. I'm loving seeing all of this here. So wonderful. Okay. All right. So we're digging deeper. So now that you have envisioned your life, I want you to get that values list out again. And what values now stand out? A little bit different than the domains. Domains are just the areas of your life. Values, again, are the qualities that you appreciate and that are important to you. So look back at that values list and which ones now are connecting with your heart center. Which ones are most important to you? Again, I know that previously you just kind of circled randomly. Now I'm asking you to really connect to see which ones actually resonate with you the most. How did that show up in your visualization as well? And I'd like you to put a star next to those values that are your current personal values. Yeah. Notice if there's any that are similar, which is totally okay and very common that we're carrying on values from all of those different areas of our life. But I also challenge you to notice what's different, because what I have found is that I've certainly worked with clients who were maybe raised in an environment where achievement was top priority. And come to find out as we dug into these personal values, achievement really wasn't very high on this individual's list. It was really more creativity and freedom. And so again, this gives us some insight into being able to understand which values are currently resonating with us. And so would love to see if there's been any changes. Certainly pop it into the chat, and I'd love to hear if there have been any noticing. Are there differences? Are there similarities? What's standing out for you? Okay. So now that you know your values, we've certainly walked through a vision of your life. I want you to just start thinking about a mission statement for yourself. This is certainly not something that you have to come up with today or even right now, but it's something that I just want you to start thinking about. So a mission statement is something that helps you guide your life and incorporates all of those different components that we were just naming, the values, that vision, and then we'll be getting to the action aspect of it here in a moment. But it's something that, again, you can think to as, again, your North Star. It's a bigger North Star than just the vision. It incorporates all of the different elements here, the purpose, the vision, and the action. So let's go on to the next slide here, because I want to give you some examples here of some wonderful mission statements. Let's see. Okay, so not merely to survive, but to thrive, and to do so with some passion, some compassion, some humor, and some style. Maya Angelou. To be a teacher and to be known for inspiring my students to be more than they thought they could be. Oprah Winfrey. To have fun in my journey through life and learn from my mistakes. Richard Branson. So what you're noticing about these mission statements is that, again, they're incorporating the values that are most important to these individuals, and they are, again, ongoing. You're not seeing this as something where it is something that they're just going to accomplish and check it off a list of some sort. It's something that they can turn to as something that represents their all-encompassing for themselves, for them personally, for their life. And so again, I certainly just want you to start to think about it, and maybe in the next couple of days, come back to that page where you wrote out your visualization, and at the bottom, maybe sticking your personal statements in there. Okay. So let's go ahead and move on again. All right, moving forward, you have your values, you have your vision. Now it's time to really dig into implementation, mamas. So we are going to figure out how we are going to actually shift our focus and actually do this with concrete action. So pull out your workbook again, and it's going to be titled Shifting Your Focus. And if you don't have your workbook, again, you can certainly do this on just a notebook, a piece of paper. And I want you to think about all of those different domains in your life that we went through. The most common, again, domains, I'll list them here again: physical health, mental health, career, friendships, romantic relationships, family, personal growth, finances, and spirituality. So as you're looking at your worksheet, looking at that same worksheet, I want you to look at these domains in your life, and I want you to start to write down what values go in those domains for you. And you might have certain values that run through all of the different domains. Go ahead and just start to write them down on your feet, on your piece of paper. I'll give you a moment to do that. Just start to think about, again, what are these important domains in our life that are important? What are the values? And then I want you to, in that first column, I want you to prioritize. And so I'm going to openly tell you that this is probably one of the hardest exercises for many of my mamas, is trying to figure out, how do I prioritize? They're all so incredibly important to me. And this is where we have to challenge ourselves a little bit. And some of them may meet exactly the same prioritization, and that's totally okay. But we want to try to see if we can prioritize them in some fashion. So going from 1 to 10, certainly going through that list. Once you have prioritized the list of domains, then I certainly want you to move to now getting real with yourself and having to rate. How closely do you feel like you're living in alignment with both prioritizing these domains and also living those values? So again, have to get real with ourselves. How are we doing this? And I'm saying this even because as we're going through this list, what I have also found is that we start to recognize that actually maybe we are living in alignment really well with certain values and certain domains in our life. And so again, the rating scale, 1 being I'm not living in alignment with it at all, 5, I'm doing a fabulous job. And so let me give you just a moment to go ahead and complete that worksheet for us. Okay. So what are we noticing here, mamas? Are we in alignment? Are we out of alignment? Are we needing to focus our attention in different areas of our life? Let's go on to the next slide here. All right, so here again, this is something that after the workshop today, I'm wanting you to take it just a step further. So there is a worksheet in your workbook again that you can certainly utilize, or again, you can do this absolutely just in a journal, in a notebook, but you are going to actually look at your current schedule, and you are going to identify, using that last exercise that you did, figure out where you need to clear the clutter. Where do you need to be redirecting focus, and what domains are not getting enough attention? And so for the domains that you identify that you're not feeling in alignment with and you need to prioritize, it's going to be that opportunity for you to decide, where do I need to get rid of some things? So for example, under the domain of family, maybe you have the value of connectedness. And what you do is you notice that you're constantly saying yes to every single PTA meeting. You're volunteering for anything under the sun having to do with your kids' classroom. You are saying yes to every single kids' party and every single event. And as a result, you are just not really connecting with your family in the way that you want. Sure, you're connecting with other people, but you're not connecting with your family more directly. And so this is a perfect example of invitation, mamas, for you to clear the clutter. So I'm inviting you to do that after the workshop today. Yeah. All right. So we are now moving into, again, getting even more concrete about how we are creating goals for ourselves. I think many people have heard the concepts of smart goals. And if you haven't, that's absolutely fine. That's what I'm here to teach you about. So we are going to start living your reinvented life through action. And so that is by setting very specific goals for ourselves. They need to be measurable. They need to be attainable, relevant, and timely. So what does this mean? So being specific, it has to be something very objective that you are identifying as a need and something that you're going to actionably do. It's going to be things where you're thinking about who's responsible for this, what exactly needs to happen, what are the steps I need to take for this goal to actually happen. It needs to be measurable. And so although great to just say, I want to be a good mom, we want to be able to measure and kind of have some kind of rubric to figure out for ourselves, am I aligned with what I'm saying in terms of what good mom means? And so it needs to be something that is measurable, needs to be quantifiable. And so it allows you to kind of track your progress along the way. Achievable is a really, really important one, attainable, because oftentimes we set ourselves up for putting ourselves into an expectation that is way out of bounds. And so I really want you to be realistic about whether or not you are able to actually achieve whatever goal it is that you are setting yourself out for. Is it relevant? So for me, relevant is really equating to values. So does it actually connect with what is meaningful to you? And then we have to put a timeline on it. So again, we don't want to just say, if we're setting a goal for ourselves for anything, that, okay, I'm going to be patient. And I'm not really setting up any kind of timeline around that. Again, I'm likely not going to achieve it because I don't have any way to measure whether or not I've achieved it or not. So these are just some examples. Again, I'm following with the same domain, same value, and these are some SMART goals that I came up with for myself. So personally, these are things that I actually am trying to incorporate into my life. The domain of family is so important to me, and it's still one that I feel like I'm constantly needing to give attention to, and the value of connectedness as well. And so for me, I came up with the SMART goal, short-term goal of when we get home from school, I'm going to spend 15 minutes with my kids talking or playing with my full attention, no cell phones, no tablets, no nothing before we start the nightly routine. And I'm going to aim to start doing this within the next 2 days. So again, very specific. It's when we get home from school. It is absolutely something that's measurable. It's 15 minutes and it is attainable. I didn't put here that I'm going to try to spend 3 hours after work because I know realistically we have so many other things that we need to get done. And for me, this is relevant again because it helps me know that I'm connecting with my kids in a deeper way. And it is certainly something that's timely. So I'm giving myself the opportunity to say, I'm going to do this within the next 2 days. I'm not going to set myself up for failure again in saying that I'm absolutely going to do it tomorrow or like right now, but giving myself a little bit of time. And then the long-term goal, we will plan and go on at least one family vacation by the end of the year. So again, all of the different elements of SMART goals incorporated into that. It's just visioned out a little bit further. Okay. And I am wanting you to take this opportunity to do this here in the workshop. So this is your turn. I want you to pick just one domain that you identified as needing some attention in your life right now. And I'm wanting you to pick one value. And I'd love for you to create a short-term goal and a long-term goal for each of those, for this domain. going forward, certainly invitation to do this for any of those other domains. But just for today, I just want you to focus in on one domain, one value, and create a short-term and long-term goal that is similar to the ones that I shared with you. So actually, let's go back to that last slide, just so that you have an example. And I'm going to just give you a moment to come up with those goals. I'm going to go quiet here for a minute and let you come up with some goals. And I certainly want to invite you to share them with us if that feels right for you. I'm inviting you to do that because certainly what research has found is that when we share our goals or even just speak them out loud, we are so much more likely to actually follow through with them. So I'll give you a minute to do that here. Okay. All right. Okay. So I hope you've had the opportunity to create some of those goals. Again, if you can't think about them right now, certainly this just gives you frame for what you'll be thinking about and give you some outlines for how you can go forward. Love this, mental health and acceptance as primary domains and a value. Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay. So this is the last skill that I want to leave you with today, mamas. Daily intention setting. Such a simple type of intervention for yourself, skill that you can learn. Again, super, super simple. I'll walk you through it right now. I want to name this quote first. Commitment isn't about being perfect, always following through, or never going astray. Commitment means that we stumble or get off track, you pick yourself up, find your bearings, and carry on in the direction you want to go. I felt like this quote was, I live this quote all the time in motherhood because I am absolutely not perfect. I make lots of mistakes, but my commitment to wanting to make sure I'm focusing in on those things that matter to me and making sure that I'm moving forward from even things that go astray. This is absolutely me to the T. And I imagine that a lot of mamas feel this way too. So although it's very helpful for us to create those very concrete SMART goals, it's equally as effective for us to have some less formal goals for ourselves or less formal practices. And that's what daily intention setting does for us. What this means is that you would just go back to that list of values that you have, and you would just pick one of the values that stands out to you as incredibly important, and it would be your daily intention for the entire day. The reason that this becomes very effective is because it doesn't limit you to just doing that goal that you've created for yourself. It reminds you to live that value any moment of the day. Because remember, I told you values are ongoing. You never end them. So again, using that example of connectedness, if I use my daily intention setting and I said, I want to be connected more, just in general with life, I would then find myself any opportunity that I can to say hi to someone. Maybe I take the opportunity to text or call a good friend or a family member. In that way, again, it doesn't limit me in any way. It certainly allows me to feel like I am living my life in the direction that is meaningful to me. I'm adding value to my life at any given moment. So that's just a little nugget of a skill that I think you can incorporate very easily into your life. Okay? So we'll go ahead and we're here at the end. So we're here, and I am just so proud that you made it here and you've committed to this deep dive and exploring with what it is that is important to you, connecting with your heart center. And my hope is that you're leaving with a lot more awareness and curiosity about yourself and your life. And so I just wanted to offer these things to remember. So you certainly have permission to define and create a motherhood journey that is unique, that is as unique as yourself. We often need to stop, reflect, and assess our values often. We want to use visualization to help you envision and feel your way into that life that you want to live. Mamas, we've got to clear that clutter, and you have to focus on actions that align with your values. And that last one, when you live with intention daily, you are able to add value to your life at any given moment and know that you're focusing in on what matters. So that is all we've got. We certainly are opening it up for any questions here in the end. Yes, thank you. I'm so glad it was helpful.
Great, thank you, Dr. Mani. So if you have any questions, please use the Q&A button on the Zoom below. We have time for a couple before the end of our workshop today. One we can start off with, Dr. Mani, is how many domains should we be juggling at any given time?
Yeah, so the reality is that I definitely want to clarify that it's absolutely fine to be juggling multiple domains. So definitely don't want to message that we would be dropping the ball on any of those domains. I think the focus here is learning to prioritize which ones are we paying attention to or putting more effort, not paying attention to, but putting more effort into. So although all of those domains can be so important in our life, we certainly just need to prioritize them. And I always think of it like a pie chart. So I don't like thinking of balance in life as 50-50. It's where am I allocating my time? And all of those domains can exist within that pie chart. Okay?
We've got one here. You know, I have a lot of clutter in my life right now, but I don't know how to get out of it. How do I have the hard conversations to clear them from my deck?
Yep, that's a really, I know that that's a really big struggle. And my best answer for that is start somewhere and start simple. And so I know that some of these conversations can be a bit harder with maybe certain people in your life. And so I was giving the example of saying no to, say, a PTA meeting. And maybe that's a little bit easier than having to say no to a good friend because you're not wanting to cross that line quite yet. But start somewhere and start simple. Just start to pull some of those things off that feel like you have enough courage, a little anxiety producing, but certainly have enough courage to at least step into that kind of understanding that it's okay to step into something with fear.
Great. Well, thank you so much for your time today, Dr. Mani. Thanks to all of you for joining us today. Again, we'll be sending out a survey about today's workshop and would really appreciate your feedback. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.